Glen, wake up. We're live. Glen, hi, fans of high quality entertainment. I am with Glen Kellaway from the basement, and we have 0 viewers so far, Glen. There. We have seven. That went from 0 to 7. Wow.
Oh, sorry. I had to, I fell asleep there listening to Larry.
Have a little nap.
Thank God we went on live. Oh,
yeah.
Oh.
So I am with my buddy, Glen Kellaway from the basement. We just, was that yesterday? Yeah. Was it yesterday?
Larry, I don't know. It just, when we're not together, it's just my heart just breaks. So it seems like days.
No, it was yesterday. We did a CD
Friday.
exchange.
It was Friday.
Was it Friday?
Afternoon. Tomorrow. Yesterday was Saturday.
What's today?
Today's
Sunday. So yeah, a couple days ago. And yeah. Glen gave me Widespread Panic, who I'd never heard before.
Why did I give you these, Larry? You don't even explain anything. We're doing
a CD exchange. And so we give each other 5 CDs each, and then a week or so later, we get back together and we review them and rank them. And he gave me Widespread Panic. This is their second album.
I thought it was their first, but it could be their second.
I think it's their second, yeah. And he gave me Bebop Deluxe Live in the Air Age, which I did hear years ago, but it's been a long time. And he gave me A Gift from a Flower to a Garden, Donovan. And he gave me Jeff Beck, Truth. And Free, Fire and Water. Glen Kellaway, what did I give you?
Oh, you gave me a bunch of crappy stuff.
As usual.
You gave me The Great Balancing Act, which is a band from Moncton, New Brunswick.
That's right. That's what I was going to say.
Screwed up and said that you were from Halifax. Moncton, New Brunswick. And guy who used to be in a band that's, I don't know, kind of washed up now, but Paul McCartney and Wings.
Yeah, he's all washed up.
David Bowie album, Reality, the only David Bowie studio album I do not own and have not heard. Journey to the Center of the Eye by Nectar.
Yeah.
And last but not least, the crowning achievement, the best, the greatest one, the one that excited the hell out of me. I haven't been able to sleep since it's been sitting in my house.
You've been playing it constantly since I gave
it. White Pepper.
White Pepper. Anybody out there watching, if you've heard of Ween, if you've heard of the album White Pepper by Ween, let me know what you think of it. Look at these jokers. Oh, it's Beer and Vinyl guy. Oh.
Yeah, Alex.
I wonder if he likes Ween.
No, he's heterosexual, I think.
Hey guys, are we showing some Ween today? No, I'm not showing any Ween today.
Yeah. These videos are for kids too.
Beer and Vinyl, do you want to come on?
Oh, Alex, come on up, buddy.
Yeah. Just don't come on just to promote your channel.
Yeah, we don't want to hear anything about you.
That's all he does. He comes on.
If you come on, just say how much you love Larry and I and how great you are.
Pump us up a little bit here.
Yeah.
Copy. Hello, fellow Canadians.
Hey, Ralph.
Hey, Ralph.
Oh, Canada. Have you heard the Bebop Deluxe album, Drastic Plastic? I don't think I have.
I actually had that on white vinyl back in the 70s. Yeah.
So if Alex wants to come up, how did you send him a link?
I'll send him the link if he...
Oh, he hasn't said.
I just don't want any total stranger coming on that I don't know.
Music and cat lover. Hello, music lovers. Well,
hello, music lovers.
Cat lovers.
How did you know we love music?
Yeah.
Yeah, as soon as I invited Alex, he's gone. He said, geez, I don't want to be on the live chat. I'm having a little bit of red wine.
He's got white vinyl of White Pepper is good. I need to listen to Ween's albums again. My favorite so far is The Mollusk.
Yeah. I was thinking of giving Glen that, but I think White Pepper is the most
Hey, now I'm right here. Do you want to come on or not, Alex? Just say yes or no, for God's sakes.
This is for Alex.
He's so thick, man.
I know. It's
Jeez.
like he's better than us or something.
Oh, he's just...
Which he is.
He's thick. Brandon Thomas. The
Hey,
kid
gents,
with the
Brandon
first name.
Easley here. No, it's Brandon Thomas. It's not Brandon Easley. Don't lie to us.
Brandon Easley. How many people are watching, Larry?
21.
20. Wow.
19, 24. 24, 22
great.
fans of my channel and 2 of
Star
yours.
quality. It's amazing. Larry, are you going to run out of room on your CD shelf soon?
No, I've still got one more level below. And
Yeah.
I always,
get rid of his Beach Boys CDs. He'll have a room for, like, once that all ends, that whole nonsense.
I kind of like the size, the size my CD rack is. If I get too many CDs, I end up trading some in. I don't want, you see some, I don't know, you see some people with like 10,000 CDs. It's like, you're never going to listen
Larry,
to
I'm
them.
a purger.
I know, Glenn. I'm basically talking about you.
No, I'm saying I'm a purger. I agree with you. I like to try trade in all the time.
I see Alex. I'm not going to let him in for a while. Let him suffer.
Yeah. He had to go get a beer, I'll bet.
He's such a loser.
Oh, Sam.
Oh, it's Alex. Hi, Alex. How are you?
Sam's here too.
Well, I'm not giving him a link.
Alex, buddy.
I'll have you know I'm doing dry January, so no beer.
Are you doing that? My wife's doing that too with her wine. She's off the wine for the month.
Yeah, so I'm only I just don't drink on weekends anymore.
Yeah, I just don't drink when I'm alone or with someone.
That's right. Yeah. I'm on the George Thorogood train, you know.
Yeah. Sam, are you coming up with us?
Yes, you can come up there too.
We'd have Sam. 4 for euchre.
You know what I like when I have a few other people on is I don't have to do any talking because it's like work. I can just sit here, have a little snooze. So what's new with you, Alex, and what's new with music-wise?
Oh, new with me. Well, I once, I was off record shopping for a couple days, and then a friend of mine was like, "Hey, I got to head to the record store today. Do you want to go?" And what am I going to say? No, or what am I going to do? Go and not buy anything? So, I put some parameters in place and failed them big time, as always. I want to show this because it is a Canadian treasure, and I'm here with 2 beloved Canadians.
Thank you.
This first time buying this. Never had this. It's the only album I have for him. I never even listened to it until last night, and I loved it. Absolutely loved it. And that's
great album. That's Leonard's first album.
Yeah, beautiful.
It is
just beautiful. Yeah, I mean, I don't even know what else to say.
Albums. The first 2 or 3 are all classic. If you can get Songs from a Room and Songs of Love and Hate, great albums.
Yeah.
Did you read that, Glen, about Widespread Panic?
I did not know they did an album with Vic Chestnut under the name Brute. Did not know that. Is it like a country album or?
No. It has snowed here, but it's kind of all almost gone away.
It's amazing. I hate snow with a passion, so it's never amazing. But no, thank God it's really dry here. And I saw Sam's that he snagged the Bluegrass album from Rounder yesterday. That's great. That's one of the best Bluegrass albums ever, and not easy to find. You're talking about Volume 1, right, Sam? There's about 5 volumes. Beautiful, beautiful. Yes. And it's beautiful too.
It's Bob, here. Better known as Janet, or no, it's Janet Sampson, better known as Bob. I saw a video earlier that Glen gave you Dr. John's debut album, Gris. How does you say that? Gris?
Gree.
It was good to hear Glen like it, but I know Larry gave it a D. It's one of my favorite records I have. Cajun Heritage.
It is a great record. Well, in case you didn't realize, Larry doesn't have very good taste in music. He likes the Beach Boys.
Oh boy.
Yeah, first
Yeah,
volume.
first volume. Good one,
More-
Sam.
More Canadian fun. I'm curious if either of you got into this band. They sort of missed the they're probably after their time a little bit. So we're talking mid to late 70s. Proggy, but not, Emerson, Lake and Palmer proggy. Spacey, but not Hawkwind spacey, and poppy, but not, Beatles poppy. Everybody knows, or a lot of people know, Black Noise from FM.
I've heard of them.
FM, yeah.
And then I picked up their third record, Surveillance.
Yep.
These were like $3 or whatever, but very cool. Nobody else really sounds like them. It's a very cool sort of fusion of spacey lyrics, proggy, poppy, great melodies, great keyboard work, all that good stuff. Incredible guitar player. So
they were, Is that not the band that Nash the Slash was in? FM? Am I wrong? You know
I
him?
think so. Early on, yeah.
I have no idea. You are correct. Yeah, Nash the Slash is on Black Noise. Yeah.
Have you ever seen Nash the Slash? He bandages his face up and wears his glasses.
Yeah.
Plays
He's like a cult.
I love that. Well, and I trust, anybody. I mean, this was a trio, and Nash the Slash plays electric violins and mandolin, glockenspiel, vocals, and effects.
Yeah. He
My
was
kind of band.
He's really out there, that guy. Bob, the Beach Boys are great in 1965.
Oh, Bob. I need a drink.
Oh, early Larry.
What's going on now? James and Bob are fighting. This is good. Hey,
Yeah.
Ethan, how you doing, buddy?
It's Ethan. Ethan C. He's shy about his last name.
Yeah, Ethan needs to listen to some Big Brother in the Holding Company. Saw my Janis Joplin video this morning. Said he's only heard Pearl and some hits. He needs to delve deeper.
Mm. So Alex, we're doing a CD exchange. We're not. I mean, Glen and I.
Oh yeah, I saw it. Yeah,
I don't want to confuse you. So let me
Are you
know.
a Nectar fan,
Have you heard
Alex?
this one?
yeah, huge fan of Free. In fact, I think I was on. Glenn, I might have just been chatting with you in one of our private chats that one of my recent finds, because in the vinyl world, it's really difficult to find, but I recently picked up Free's debut, Tons of Sobs, which is, in Glenn mentioned, I like Free more than Bad Company.
Oh, way better. Bad Company was really commercial.
It is. And like, what's funny is like, I love Mott the Hoople more than Bad Company. You know what I mean? So it's like, the super group that probably made $1 gazillion on a handful of hits, but man, Free, it's just good old fashioned like hard rock blues, man. It's just great stuff.
Yeah.
And then this one.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Classic.
Have you heard this one?
Yes. It's been a minute. I do have that. Yeah, because it was originally on vinyl, it was released as a box set. And it's hippy dippy, but I love that Donovan stuff. And I love Bebop Deluxe. That's Bill Nelson, I think, is one of the most underrated. I mean, he's doing stuff on there. And what a cool band, this sort of like combination of like art, very art poppy, very progressive. But Bill's just wailing on there, man. Just
what about this band?
Oh, I was like, whose band? Yes. Well, I've shared with Glenn. I saw Widespread Panic live at Austin City Limits a couple of years ago. And I mean, they're great. I mean, super talented. Obviously, they fit right in that sort of jammy thing. I've never listened to a studio record from them though. So, yeah.
And Glenn, show the CDs to Alex and
show the
that
ones
I gave you. Hello.
Hello. There you got me. I'm listening to Nectar's Journey to the Center of the Eye. You a Nectar fan?
Love Nectar. I love A Tap in the Ocean, which was right after that.
That's the one I want to get. It's hard to get.
That debut is really difficult to find on vinyl. So yeah.
I have Remembering the Future on vinyl.
Yeah. Oh, love that. Yeah.
That's a good album.
And I like Recycled too. And what's the one that you love, Larry? Your favorite one?
Down to Earth.
Down to Earth. I love those.
It's a little more commercial, but it's really good. Yeah.
Yeah.
Ween.
I still have not
Great.
listened to Ween. I'm so curious what your thoughts are going to be
Alex.
on this.
I'd not listen.
Alex, if you ever check out Ween, I suggest White Pepper.
That's the one, White Pepper.
Yeah, the one that Glen has.
Or Salt, if they wanted to.
Their earlier albums are really, stupid and weird, but they're I love every song I've heard by them, and I've got 8 of their albums. So
I'll have to, yeah.
And I got Bowie Reality, just because that's the only Larry knew it was the only studio album I don't have from Bowie. And One Hand Clapping, the McCartney and Wings thing. Have not heard
good things, yeah.
And a band from Canada called Great Balancing Act, which are from Moncton, New Brunswick.
New Brunswick.
So
it's cool.
So,
yeah. Bailey heard Sparks, thanks to my pants in a trendy clothes store.
It's in a trendy clothes.
Larry, I listened to Duck Stab The Residents, and you were right. It was great. Yeah. Thank you, Ethan.
Didn't you lend me that once?
Yeah, you kind of liked it, but you kind of were turned off by
it.
I
never went and bought any Residents albums afterwards. Yeah. I bet you there's a lot of men doing that, though. Just not on YouTube.
Yes, of course. There's a question, of course.
That's great.
Oh, yeah. Ian Hunter's, first solo album.
Yeah.
I have it.
Here was a...
and it's called, you know what it's called? Ian Hunter.
That's right. This was... what do you know? I was saying before, I put some of those parameters on me when I went to the store or the record store, and I was like, you're only going to buy like these $8 to $12 records, no expensive records, all those different things. And then of course you see the record that you've been looking for. Glenn, you've been there a million times where you're like, oh, it's the one thing I've been looking for forever. I don't recall either of you talking about this. Larry, this is right up your alley. Glenn, you would also like it, I think, but it's the debut, I guess, but the debut from Lucifer's Friend. Do you know this record?
I've heard of the name.
This is John Lawton on vocals, who would later replace David Byron and Uriah Heep.
Yep.
But German band, and this is like as proto hard rock, heavy rock as you get. 1970, I believe here. They're on the Brain label in Germany, so Billingsgate here in North America. But Ride the Sky is what kicks it off, and if you stream Ride the Sky, it will sound very, very familiar because the hook happens to be the same as the Immigrant song in terms of the and of course you're sitting there, you're like, well, they both came out in 1970, same year. But also Led Zeppelin does have a little bit of a history.
They possibly copied one or two songs,
kind of making it their own. Yeah.
So, but this is like, if you like Third Lord Baltimore, again, some of that like very early proto, not doomy like Sabbath. I mean, it's a little bit like faster, heavier, Deep Purple, Uriah Heep type stuff. This is so good. I mean, and plus, first of all, Lucifer's Friend, and then what a great album cover, huh?
And did they release any other albums?
They did, yeah. Their first two are pretty heavy. This is like the outlier. This was like the amazing, big, heavy, hard rock 1970. They released a number of albums. They got a little bit weirder, a little bit poppier kind of later on. But I have a couple of them. And then obviously John Lawton would join Uriah Heep in 77 or so, or whatever.
So I'm wondering with that album cover, which one is Lucifer?
and which one's the friend, right? This is Glenn and Larry taking a picture together.
Yes. Larry is tall.
Glenn is short.
And you said something kind of weird there that I kind of disagree. You said he replaced David Byron. No one replaced David Byron because irreplaceable.
You are correct. Yes, sir.
I can't do. I'm on an embargo with. I bought one Uriah Heep album, maybe about 5 years ago. Something they put out. I can't remember. And everybody said, "Oh, this is so good," and I liked. It was nothing wrong with it, but it's just not. I don't know. I can't do it.
Yeah, I understand. I'm
Those
not
first
mad.
5 Uriah Heep albums are just amazing.
Oh, yeah.
It's just like Deep Purple. Like, I guess their later albums are fine, but I have no interest in them.
Yeah, it's
It's funny. I mean, two of those bands that have had very, very long careers with a lot of records and a lot of lineups and still going today.
mhm.
Although I know Uriah Heep just announced they're on their farewell tour. I mean, Mick Box is like 80, so that's almost as old as you, Glenn. But
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know why Mick Box is lasted so long? It's because he's got such a short name. When he writes his name, he didn't have to waste any energy, so he's got this almost.
Yeah, he just signed it Box.
Hey, we got the Great Balancing Act on our channel, Larry.
Where are they? Oh, they're right there. Okay, I'll get to them. Hello, what's happening? Look at this. Look what Glen has.
Yes, can hardly wait to hear this. Thanks for the plug, guys. Who would win in a fight between Larry and Glen? I think neither of us would
I
get too
hate to
tired.
see Larry and Glen mud wrestle. I don't think people would want to see that.
oh, yes,
Yeah.
we would. Yeah. Or Jello.
Larry and I are lovers, not fighters.
Oh, Lord. I pay more. Oh, gee, maybe I'll think about it then. If there's
Yeah,
going to be money involved.
Yeah, how much would you pay? Anything's possible.
And we know, to Ethan's comment, I mean, Glenn, maybe you too, Larry. I think you like him, but Glenn, I know you're a bigger fan of the Rod Evans era Deep Purple stuff.
That's my favorite.
I like it. Yeah.
After that, it's hit and miss with me. I'm good with Machine Head and maybe a couple of that's it. First 3 albums are gold. Where's Robert? Robert who?
Robert's on my turntable. He's probably
That's
working.
where he is. He's on
your
Larry's
turntable.
Any of you speak any other languages? Zubafosi no fo the Fokabodiatan as about the movie. Of course we do. It's our own made-up language. Alex,
Just English and American are my 2 languages.
but you try and keep those separate.
We're trying.
Yeah.
And one day soon, it might be all combined to American, right, Glenn?
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yeah.
I'll be the American Studmuffin.
Yeah.
Really looking forward to you guys joining us down here,
Yeah. It should be good. I just like the fact that I could order stuff from another state and not have to pay duty.
It's actually true. You know how much when you do become the 51st state, you know how much money you're going to save on shipping.
I know, to a record collector, it's like it's a no, you can't lose. I would love to be part of the U.S.
That's true.
Yeah.
Did that All Them Witches CD get fixed for you? No, I just got my money back. That kind of got me upset. Have you ever heard the band All Them Witches? They're pretty good.
I have one of their albums. I forget what it's called, but yeah.
I did I think an album review on my Patreon, and so I ordered the album on Amazon, the CD, and I got it. And it's the very first I've ordered from Amazon for years. It was broken.
Oh, geez.
Yeah.
Who are these guys? I've never heard All Them Witches. What is it?
It's like kind of like Sabbath, but different. It's not all heavy metal or anything. They're really good.
Do you remember what album that was, Larry? The name of it?
I think their last one.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah. WrestleMania. Larry almost speaks English. Yeah, that's true. Wishbone Ash Argus. Have you heard that, Alex?
So good.
We were just talking about Wishbone Ash before.
Steve, if you're not a regular viewer of our friend Steve at A is for Alice, B is for Bob, he's a huge Wishbone Ash fan. Just talked about them on his prog rock. This is what a lead in for you, Alex. I'm setting you up on a tee, buddy.
Beautiful. Thank you.
Steve just did a great video on the prog rock tag for 2025. Do you know anything about that, Alex?
Know it. I wrote it, but Larry hasn't done it yet. And Larry did it last year. And so, I know Larry, he's got a lot of video ideas, and so I'll have to make sure my check's in the mail for him. But I do remind him that he did do my prog tag last year.
He'll do it.
So what tag is this? There's so many
Prog rock.
tags.
Yeah, it's another take on the vinyl CD.
Is this
tag
your
stuff
take?
that's specifically about progressive rock?
It's your take?
It's mine.
Okay, I'll do it. I'll do it.
I make the royalties from it. So
All right.
It was well done too.
he wrote it down. That's right.
What are your guys' favorite albums?
That's the
of all
secret
time?
to a good tag is the good questions.
I do think there's a science to it, Glenn. Like it's like to me, it's like you want it to if you're going to do like a genre specific thing, great. Like you want it to appeal to the people who really like that music, but also it can't be like pretentious or you have to be.
What's your favorite color?
Or
that always bugs me.
It can't just be a show and tell, like show this record, show this record, show this record, show this record. You got to kind of get people to give their viewpoints on something in the.
You got to get deep into the prog.
You got to.
What are your guys' favorite albums of all time? We'll be here for an hour answering.
Where'd that come from? Oh, what are your favorite
Dreaming.
albums of all time? Oh, well, my favorites are Holland, Surf's Up, and
he'll just never give it. I haven't mentioned the Beach Boys, and he's still on it.
You know what, though, Glenn? Of the two that you mentioned Holland and Surf's Up. Those would be two of the best ones. I just want to say that you're on. You know what you're talking about.
But it's not a high bar there, Alex. It's not like That's like it's everybody saying with the new Ringo Starr album, it's his best album. Well, it's not a high bar. He's been making albums for 50 years, and he's only made one good one. So
to answer your question, Chewy Bean,
jump up to number one.
If Glenn will shut up for a second, the Beatles, any album by the Beatles, Led Zeppelin, physical graffiti, Sparks, Kimono My House, Yes, Tales from Topographic Oceans, or Relayer. Glenn, what are your favorite albums?
My favorite albums would be not necessarily what I think are the greatest albums of all time. Aqualung, In the Court of the Crimson King, Close to the Edge. There's three.
We're in the same kind of category here. I'd probably, at least today, Selling England by the Pound. That's my favorite Genesis record. It's been played a gazillion times, but I still think I could hear Dark Side of the Moon, all of it today, and still get plenty of enjoyment out of it. Some a little bit later my favorite album of all time is Metropolis Part 2, Scenes from a Memory by Dream Theater from 1999. If you remember those days.
I have never heard Dream Theater. I've heard of them for years.
I actually bought. You know what, Larry? Next CD exchange, you're getting that CD.
Sure.
Wow, there you go. Yeah, I was going to say, I remember you buying.
So,
that.
are you happy that that Mike guy is back on drums?
Oh, I couldn't be happier. I remember the day that he left, and I was a 19-year-old fanboy, and I was distraught. Absolutely.
What was the reason he left? Just.
Yeah, he long story short, he went to the band and kind of said, hey, like, we are on this constant, like, make an album tour. I'm getting tired.
Yeah.
I feel like our stuff is lacking. I propose that we go on a couple year, just pause, break, recharge. And the band was like, no, we're ready to keep on going. So there were some other, I think, some interpersonal things that play there. But yeah, 15 years later, I could not be, and I loved the other drummer they had too. But yeah, when that happened, it was like Christmas morning.
Mm-hmm. So there's still putting out really good albums.
So they February 7th will be their first album with him since 2010 or 2009. So that is on pre-order. Couldn't be more excited for that. But yeah. Strong. Not nearly as good. Their heyday was certainly probably 99 to 2005. But yeah.
Have any of you heard of Mumford and Sons?
Yeah. I'm a big fan of the first album, but then I was excited for the second album, and then they changed their whole sound on that second album. They tried to become kind of like more of a pop rock band almost, and got away from the rootsy feel of the first album. And I kind of gave up on them after that, but they did a great collaboration with Jerry Douglas, a great dobro player, with Paul Simons on the Boxer. So it's freaking awesome.
What real Beatles album is the Beatles' worst album? My pick is Let It Be. I don't know. There's no bad ones. I guess my least favorite would be Beatles for Sale, maybe. And Glenn doesn't listen to the Beatles he anymore, so he doesn't want to talk about them.
No, I'll talk about them all day long.
What's your least favorite Beatles album, Glenn?
Well, let's not include like Yellow Submarine,
No,
right?
yeah.
That's kind of a weak because of the soundtrack stuff. Wow. That's hard, man. I mean, they're all great albums, so it's like when you feel like you say this one sucks, it doesn't really. Yeah. I'd say the one I would play the least if I was playing Beatle albums all the time would be Please Please Me, but yeah.
Glenn, exciting times ahead.
I'm not sure about the WWE TNA connection, but yeah, well, it's great. WWE is now on Netflix, and wow, they got a huge audience now, man. I think Netflix paid them like I don't know how many $1 billion for that contract, so it's huge.
Michael Nolan, I just picked up 2 of my favorite albums this morning, Golden Age of Wireless by Thomas Dolby and I, Robot by the Alan Parsons Project, each for $8. Yeah.
Very cool.
You know, Thomas Dolby is one of those artists that I've never, ever listened to because of like, with you know, you heard Blinded Me with Science or whatever. And then from what I understand, and I'm sure other people could say this, like that is not necessarily indicative of his impact and his, you know, talent and all that kind of stuff.
It's amazing how you get an impression of an artist from a song or something, eh? And then you just
I mean, same with was it Gary Newman with Cars?
Yeah,
you know,
he's still putting out quality albums.
Yeah, I mean, I hear especially you know people like the
interviews with him. I like him as you know as a person too.
I can think of tons of bands like that I heard a song and went, oh, is this their style? Like I just don't like them, but it's not necessarily reflective, you know.
And that's why Glenn never got into the B-52s because of Rock Lobster.
It's true. That's true. That's the first thing that was thinking. It's telepathy. That's the one I was thinking of saying as an example.
Glenn, do you like the Ruddles?
Who could not like the Ruddles?
Yeah.
Classic. But it was recorded before Abbey Road. So okay. TNA's on. Okay, so they had to get something to replace WWE. They lost that. Okay, that makes sense. I don't follow TNA, so.
So one of the ideas I've had for a video since I started my channel a year and a half ago.
Wait a second. I'll get my pen.
That's right. No, both of you would take this, by the way, because I know both of you and you're stealers and thieves, gypsies and tramps. Is kind of along the same lines what we were talking about of like these artists that we know because of one song, and then it's like that's not really who they are. I've been had this idea for around forever. I just need to do it and figure out a name for it. But this idea of like these artists that had whole careers before we really knew who they were, right? Before, not even necessarily before they broke big, but like, you know, just like, oh wow, we're starting to hear them on the radio, and it's like, yeah, that's like their 10th album. And one of those artists that I'm like really digging all this early stuff because it's just this cool. It's not singer-songwritery stuff, man. It's like hard rocks and psychedelic, a little bit of boogie, is all the early Bob Seger stuff. And like people don't know, you know, Bob Seger, this record is from 1969. And I mean, when you get into all obviously the big radio hits that were coming, I mean, he was so far into his career at that point. But you listen to this or albums like Mongrel and like all this other stuff, like it sounds nothing what he would end up doing like later on. But I know our old friend Jason Arsenal is a huge fan of early Bob Seger stuff. Yeah,
Ramblin' Gamblin' Man. That
That's
was
right.
some Seeger song I remember. Bob Seger's System. It was on the radio. First song I remember ever hearing. Yeah.
Glenn, question for you there.
Love Green Sky Bluegrass. Fantastic band.
Another one for you, Glenn.
Oh, you know
That's,
what?
that's the way Glenn is. He ignores his
I
viewers.
answer every comment that anybody makes on my videos. If I miss them, I miss them by accident. But I haven't been on my other channel for a while. I've been concentrating on the main one, so I will go and check it out. I was thinking this morning about doing another video on there to keep it going.
I
Thank
guess
you so much.
that's true too, Alex. Early Steve Miller Band.
Oh,
Right?
yep, he's on that list. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was pretty psychedelic the first couple albums.
Yeah, that's
You know who else? A nice Ohio band. I know Larry dissed them the other. I think when you did your bands you don't like or something, I think you mentioned them. REO Speedwagon.
Yeah.
People listen to the
Illinois band, but yes.
Yeah.
Oh, Illinois, sorry. But people listen to those syrupy hit songs, you know, and they don't realize their first two albums just rock.
And how about Journey? Their first three albums, they were like jazz. I bought one of them. I think Next it was called, and it's like jazz rock. It's not commercial or anything.
Yeah, because Glenn, I know Journey is probably on the bands that you hate.
Yeah.
But those first three, like Larry said, in those first three, because it was basically the Santana band.
Steve Perry,
Was Steve Perry singing then?
No.
Oh, really?
It's essentially it was all the Santana band. So it's Neil Sean, it's Greg Rowley, it's Ainsley Dunsbar, they're just smoking.
Well, maybe I might check out the first Journey album and see if I like it.
Add it to your CD exchange list, Larry. Give them
You have it, Larry?
No.
Oh, you don't have
Larry, can you buy it off of Amazon for our next exchange?
Yeah, I cannot believe Glenn is ungrateful for his millions of fans. That's the way he is.
Well, I'm grateful for the 2,500, but the rest of them I'm not grateful for.
Should BTO, Bachman Turner Overdrive, stop now that Fred Turner? Yeah, that kind of bugs me, right? They're going out on tour as Bachman Turner Overdrive. There's no Turner in the band. It's Randy Bachman, who was in Bachman Turner Overdrive, and his son, and then other musicians.
But if they got a guy whose last name starts with a T, they'd be okay.
Like Emerson, Lake and Powell. It's still the ELP. Yeah, Bachman and Cummings should get back together and take back. Well, they do have the Guess Who name now.
Yeah, I wonder if they would do something. I think I've heard that Randy Bachman's not in great health. But
no, he when he's in concert now, he sits on a stool to play. Yeah. Okay, Michael. Great point, James, regarding Let It Be. The worst Beatle album for me is Yellow Submarine. They need to. What hell of a word is that? I think he just made that up to make himself look intelligent.
He's trying to say canonize.
Yeah, canonize. And I agree with you, Larry.
Well, they put out the Yellow Submarine Songbook album. That's a really good album.
Yep.
Nobody's going to stop. Like, it's up to you whether you want to go see them or not. Like, I mean, I just saw a thing the other day. I think the last standing member of Chicago is retiring, and the whole Chicago is still going to be touring with not one original member now.
Oh, Lord.
You know, I do appreciate, though, about Chicago, at least in their later era, is that they've sort of re-owned early Chicago. So they don't do the Peter Cetera-led, schmaltzy stuff from the late 70s and 80s. Like, if you have gone to see Chicago the last several years, they've been really, really more paying a tribute to all the early stuff.
And I'm sure they do it well. Chicago should change the name to Michigan. Moxie, Moxie, great band. You ever listen to Moxie?
They were good, yeah.
They were a bar band when I was going to bars. I used to go see them all the time. They were a great band. Buzz Sherman was the name of the singer, and he died in a motorcycle accident, unfortunately. amazed. They were great. Their first couple of albums are fantastic.
And speaking of Grant's Rock Warehouse, in early February, we're going to be reviewing the very first 2 Ween albums, God, Ween, Satan, and The Pod. I bet you're looking forward to that, Glen.
I can hardly wait to miss that one, Larry.
Yep. Moxie. I Love Chicago.
I'll take Chicago for the first 3 albums. One of the great bands of all time for the first 3 records. When Ringo retires, what did they say?
He should stop playing live. It's up to him, you know. He's
I'm
still in
thinking
good
about
health.
doing a rant against Ringo, a Ringo rant video. I've got all this pent up emotion and anger over this.
Call to get the views. Say, put it. I hate Ringo Starr.
It's the Beatles sycophant. Like, no offense to any personal, but there's so many Beatles sycophants out there, and I love the Beatles. I don't want to diss the Beatles, but what I'm saying, there's too many people who just like. If Paul farts, it's the greatest fart of all time. Like, it's just like, let's be realistic here. My God.
Yeah, Michael, make sure you thumbs up the video. Thank you. If you want to come on, let me know and I'll add a link, or if Grant wants to come on. What's this? Music's horror. Whoa.
Mm.
Tommy
He was
Boland.
one of the. He was, yeah.
Who would win easily Ringo?
I'd win, but it's not fair fight though. Ringo only has 1 foot, so he doesn't move that quickly. Who's
Can
Barry
I join?
Bowman?
Do you know Barry Bowman?
I don't know him.
I have to be careful on here. I don't want somebody coming on and then they're completely naked.
Yeah.
Remember that time Alex came on? I said, Alex, get some clothes on.
It was hot that day. I told you.
Yeah, that's how you get your channel shut down.
Yep, Dream Theater.
Yeah, Rena, I'm going to give Larry a Dream Theater album next.
Yeah.
Kisses on the Bottom. Yeah. What a title. Why did he? I know that was the name of some old jazz song or something that he did on the album, but why would you? Oh.
Because that's the first thing you're thinking, right? It's not about a letter with kisses on the. I know the song is about that, right?
I know, but like, is there anybody in Paul's world that would say to him, Paul, that's not a good title?
Paul.
Larry, question for you. I want to ride Glen's bitterness here for a video idea for you. Have you ranked all of the Beatles solo albums combined?
I haven't heard all of them, so I can't.
Well, the ones that you own, I guess. You could do like a top, 20 or 15 or whatever.
No, I haven't done that.
Why don't you do a tier thing on? They could do a tier.
Oh yeah, because I always love those. Like, kind of like, it's not easy to rank an artist. It's very difficult. But how would you stack up? Ram versus All Things Must Pass versus Plastic
Ram would be
Ono,
on top. Ram would be number 1.
Plastic Ono Band would be on top for me.
All Things Must Pass would be on top for me.
Paul's farts are the best, or second to Glen's.
I don't fart.
Paul's farts are sounding croaky these days. And Great Balancing Act is recording another one of my songs. It's called The Ultimate Drug. And I can't wait. I know that my viewers can't wait either.
Wow.
I guess they're bored. I'm completely dressed.
That's funny.
Ringo's farts don't come easy. It's Stephen Schnee.
That's so good, Stephen. Thank you.
I've been monitoring Glen's likes and dislikes, and so far there are 2 artists on the likes list and 342 artists on the dislikes list. Stephen, you should come on.
Oh, there are at least 342 artists I don't like, for sure.
Oh, you know who I'm going to get into next, Glen? Perry Ubu.
See, what is that?
I just learned they're from Ohio.
Albums.
I don't even know what kind of music they play. Larry, what kind of music do they play?
It's well, I've only got the one album.
That's on my stupid name embargo
No,
list.
Glen wouldn't like them. I already know.
Oh.
Know.
As soon as I saw the name, I went, "Oh no, that's on the Oingo Boingo list."
Yeah, they're an Ohio band, so I need to. So that's where I'm at. Is I'm trying to do, become more educated in Ohio music and Ohio history, but sometimes that means that you have to know a lot about bands that you don't really care for. And one of the biggest bands from Ohio is Devo.
Yeah,
which I know
love
you
Devo.
like, Larry.
Yeah.
But I don't know if I've heard anything outside of Whip It. So
now Devo's another band that I think I might like some of their stuff, but the first big hit was "We Are Not Man, We Are," whatever that was. Remember?
Question: Are we not men? Answer: No, we are Devo.
I hated that. Oh, I hated it. And I've never.
Sorry, Larry. I'm sorry.
I've never heard another Devo song.
So there's a link if Steve or Grant or Michael want to come on. You guys are better. Yeah, I like Yoko's music. Not
I
all
think
of
that was an interesting question. Who has the better catalog, Ringo or Yoko? I could argue that Ringo or that Yoko has a better catalog than Ringo.
Larry, I don't get the Sparks vibe. What am I missing? Alex, respond to him.
Not everything is for everybody.
No, that's it. Like, you like what you like. I mean, Glen likes the Grateful Dead. There's nothing we can do about it.
And you know what's funny though is if everybody loved Sparks the way that Larry loves Sparks, then Larry wouldn't love Sparks that much. It's like they've become like
they're my band.
They're your band, right?
Yeah.
Like, yeah. That's my theory actually as to why Glen hates the Beatles.
I don't hate the Beatles.
I've thought about this. Is that because YouTube and especially this community of physical media music people on YouTube, that like you said, anytime somebody poops, we have to know about it, and there's 19 channels that are going to do a video about it. And so I feel
like all going to love it, no matter what it sounds like.
Right. And it's like, it's Glenn, you're probably sitting there like, at this point, what could I even say that 9 billion other people that have, unboxed 19 different albums of how many different outtakes do you need to hear of, whatever, Boo Coops of Blues?
I want to say I love the frickin' Beatles with a passion, but I don't get the worship of, like, when that single came out Now and Then. It's a pretty weak song.
I paid $20 for that damn song. You believe that?
And how often do you play that?
Oh, it's a 7-inch. I never play it. I don't even play my 7-inch. You know what I mean? So
yeah. I love the Beatles. It just was an epiphany that I'm not playing Beatle records anymore.
I will always remember our buddy Steve over at A is for Alice, B is for Bob. I remember one of the first things I ever heard him say was, "I love the Beatles, and I can still listen to the Beatles, but I'm tired of people talking about them."
Yeah, it's kind of like, I don't know. I'm not even tired about people talking about them. I sit and talk. I'd love to go on a Beatles chat. I had no problem, but I don't listen.
Ooh, Doug and the Slugs.
Doug and the Slugs were an awesome band. Check out an album called Cognac and Bologna, Alex. Seriously. What a great, if you like power pop at its best, like rockin' power pop, these guys were great. And that's up
there with Shakespeare My Butt. And I thought you hated bad names.
Shakespeare My Butt?
Yeah, wasn't that isn't the Lowest of the Low?
That's that's the name of an album.
Well, you should be offended by the album title, Glenn, right?
I know, that's like you hate Terry Boo.
My album titles don't offend me. Just the band names.
The
best Coliseum album that I've heard is Valentine's Suite.
Yes, Larry, you were right.
Have you heard them, Alex?
Yeah, I mean those. Yeah, Valentine's Suite / it's something different in North America. They're all good. And Dan, I forget if you're a jazz fan or a jazz fusion fan, they later were incarnated as Coliseum 2.
Yeah.
And they put out 3 records with that lineup: War Dance, Electric Savage, and Strange Something. And those are outstanding jazz fusion records.
I have one of the Twofer CDs sitting in my cart on Amazon. I still haven't pulled the trigger on it yet, but it wasn't Gary Moore playing guitar on
Gary
those
Moore is on Coliseum 2 on those 3. Yeah, just ripping. But I think if we're talking studio stuff, the Coliseum live record is outstanding. Double LP, just
There's another one. I've got a live reunion album they did with the original band. It's incredible too, but Coliseum Live is a great record. Yeah.
There you go, Glenn. Bob Dylan.
this is good.
Yeah, you saw the movie too, Alex, right?
Yep.
Excellent.
Yeah,
Out of 10, what do
Glenn
you
have a review on your channel, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Excellent movie.
And Gary Moore. That's why I don't talk about the Beatles on my channel. What else is there to discuss about them? They are my number 1 favorite band, though. Yeah, that's true. Yeah. Coliseum 2 with Gary Moore. There you go.
Hey, Wayne.
Yeah, but Paul McCartney would disagree. I don't like tribute bands. That is one thing I would have no interest in. Like, I don't want to see an Elton John tribute show.
Although there's that touring thing where all the studio musicians get together and do the classic album live series, and they tour that all over the place.
If they're not trying to be the band,
those are really good. Yeah. I saw a Zeppelin one that just blew me away.
Yeah, but the Beatles had complex music too.
Yeah, but I kind of agree though. Once your musical journey heads into jazz fusion, heads into some of the wacky stuff Zappa was doing, I think it's hard to go back and listening to just pop music. You appreciate it and you like it, but it's just not as challenging as it was anymore, because now you've really challenged yourself. And that's why I think my dilemma is, if something's not really musically interesting to me, like in some way, then I can't just listen to it as, music to listen to while I'm doing the dishes. I can't do that.
That's a band I've heard of. I think I've heard a little bit of their music, and they're really good. They're progressive rock. I think Glenn would like them.
Who was that?
German?
Amon Duel, or I don't know how you pronounce that, but
you had it right. I think German. I could be wrong there. They do fall in, they do kind of fall in that same kraut rocky kind of category, like Can would. A little spacey, a little weird. I believe they're German, but I could be wrong. I think they might have been on the Brain label too. In fact.
Yep.
No, they weren't.
The Graham Edge Band, from the guy from Moody Blues. Went to see the Dylan movie yesterday. Thought it was excellent. The Sponge Tones out-ruddled the Ruddles. What about, this is a good question. Thank you, Stephen. What about Larry Graves tribute YouTube channels? Do you like them?
That's my channel.
It basically copies me.
We're all trying to be Larry, actually.
I wish Stephen Schnee would come on, but I think he's afraid of Glenn.
He doesn't be afraid of me.
He is. He's afraid of you. I don't blame him.
I like Stephen.
No. As soon as we talk about a band that you don't like, you're just insulting all of us.
Oh, I didn't mean to.
Come on up, Stephen. Don't be shy.
I'll be nice, I promise. I won't say
Here's the link again, Stephen.
That's an interesting one. Like, I always find with these bios on rock stars, we're all too close to them, like our musical heroes. And it's really hard to watch someone play them on a screen when you're so close to the actual person. Who could play a Paul McCartney where you would find it believable? Like I think the guy who played
I have
Dylan, like that's
no
why I think I love
interest
the
in those.
movie.
I have no interest in those stupid movies. Doesn't matter how good the acting is. I'd rather watch a real documentary.
Yeah, but the guy who
I
played
mean, the
Dylan,
Bob Dylan is different.
he
I think
played
I
really,
enjoy that.
he was outstanding.
And I think obviously Timothy Chalamet was great, and the whole cast was really great with A Complete Unknown. I think the reason, for me at least, because I'm with you, Glenn, I didn't get a ton of I didn't get any enjoyment out of Bohemian Rhapsody.
No, I hate it.
I never saw the Elton John one.
It was bad.
I think what worked for Complete Unknown was that it was a movie about 3 years of his life leading up to a concert.
Mm-hmm.
We did not get, nor do I want, how did this man grow up on the farm?
Yeah.
I do not want to know his relationships when he was 12 years old and how his daddy treated him. You know what I mean? Like that was, and I think it worked in a lot of ways that it did not go too much into this whole personal thing. And it was like, no, it's 1961 to 65. Like he landed in New York and it's leading up to this party. I think that worked for me.
Yeah. Good point.
You guys make me laugh. Alex, I think you have. I might have asked you, the Sensational.
Alex Harvey Band?
Right.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I love that. Yep.
Yeah. Magma. I've heard of them.
No. Yeah, they're like a French band that made up their own language to chant during songs called in Zool or something. Or Cobayan.
A bulldog, not a pit bull. Yeah. I won't tear you apart.
See, Stephen, no, I have to head out and help my landlord with something.
Stephen, I think Stephen Schnee's got a great channel and he's a cool dude. So
yeah.
I don't want anybody to think
everybody check out Stephen Schnee. Seriously, see Stephen Schnee, the CD Junkie, and Grant's Rock Warehouse, and Michael Nolan, the Bottom Line. I love all those channels. Glen does not bite, I think. So Chris Hussey would love to play Paul McCartney. Wow. Ooh, John Lodge to put on a
Is
Moody
this an
Blues
unpopular
tribute.
opinion? I'm going to throw this out there. Days of Future Past, which is like considered one of the shining achievements for Moody Blues. Would anybody else like to hear that album without the strings, with just the 4 band members playing the album, or 5 band members?
Yeah, it's not my favorite. It's good,
because
but
I find the strings overbearing on that album. It's too much, actually.
Yeah.
But that's kind of the charm of the album too. So I don't.
Head First by Badfinger. Yeah. Yeah, I watched about maybe 20 minutes of that movie. It was so bad.
I never saw the Elton John movie either. I think I saw 2 seconds of it and turned it off.
And the acting was okay. Like the guy that played Freddie Mercury was okay, I guess. And then just like, they're changing the storyline and everything. And I don't know why they have to do that. But
and I didn't like the Elvis movie either. More recent.
I never even watched it.
What about the Doors movie they did with Val Kilmer playing Jim Morrison? Do you remember that?
I never watched that. I just have no interest in them.
Didn't Kyle MacLachlan play Ray Manzarek?
I can't remember.
Remember the Future, I think, is a good start off. One of their more popular albums.
Agree.
But I want to get A Tab in the Ocean. Just the album title alone sounds like it's going to be a cool album.
Tab in the Ocean's great.
Yeah, Yeah, that's what it was. It was like this stupid, corny musical. Weird Al's going to play Mark Bolan. He probably do
Is
a
that
great
true?
job.
Is that true?
They got similar hair, I think.
Tom Green, yeah. Remember the Future. It's Knucklehead Rock. Good afternoon, gentlemen.
Good
Yeah,
afternoon.
but Glen's here with us. Tom, Remember the Future is a good place to start.
I like that album a lot.
I've heard of Tonto's Expanding Headband.
I love that name.
Without Strings, interesting idea, Glenn. I thought Love and Mercy. Yeah, I've heard that's good. I haven't seen them.
Very good. Very good.
Is that the actual Tom Green, although there's an extra E at the end? I was hoping it was the real Tom Green comedian.
Yeah. I mean, it's official. It says official.
It says official Tom Green.
You got to take that E off of Green's to make it look
Tom,
more
you're a funny
realistic.
dude if that's you.
They got Elton John's life. Yeah, they always do that. They change the story.
Yeah, they Hollywood it up, right?
That I like this idea. We need a Mike Love biopic starring Mike Love.
Yeah.
The Doors movie was actually really good. Thought it captured the vibe of the band and the time period.
It's been a long time since I've seen it, but I remember liking it when I saw it.
Down to Earth, yeah, that's a good album. And kind of missing these. Sorry. Thanks. You're welcome.
I'll tell you guys,
Recycle.
if you're Alex, I don't know if you bought it or are you a Doors fan?
Mm-hmm.
If you find that record store day live in Detroit,
yeah, I got it. I got it as a gift for somebody. Well, I would just tell you because he's not watching. I got it as a gift for Jason Arsenault because he is a huge Doors fan. But as you know, he is not close to a record store at all. But he is huge Doors fan. So I picked it up for him. I never told him, but I don't think he's watching. And if he ever makes it down to the States and or if you all become the 51st state, then I will make sure it gets to him. But also if I don't run into him, I'll enjoy it by spinning it here too. So
I was amazed how good it sounded. I was expecting it to,
Yeah. Well, and that's been the thing with a lot of the Doors releases for Record Store Day is they've all been bootleg, just nonsense sound wise. But this one I know was released on CD a long time ago and had really great reviews. Oh God, no. Of course, and also Magic as a Child, not only is it a terrible record, it like tiptoes into disco. The cover art, if you've seen the cover art of that, is Brooke Shields.
Yeah, as a child.
As she's like 13 or 16 or something.
Yeah. You could have that along the original Blind Faith album cover.
Oh, you could do a whole absolutely.
That's an idea for a series there, Alex.
It sounds
you just
like
can't
a personal
do any
problem.
album covers.
And the Scorpions, Yeah.
They're
another one.
Yeah. It's Morton.
Morton, how are you, buddy?
Morton.
I've heard of that band. I've heard their music. Yeah.
They're as Scott Lade would say, unfairly called the poor man's ELP. They do sound a lot like Emerson and Palmer.
I'm not a fan of ELP.
But the two, Spartacus is great, and then Illusions on a Double Dimple is my favorite.
Wow. Brooks' mom pimped
her out. Yeah.
Ooh, Robert Fripp is on that Nectar album. Cool.
Well, the bad one?
The bad one or the good one?
Who was in Triumvirate? Anybody we know?
No,
they were sort of.
They were kind of known in the 70s.
Yeah, and they were led by. I mean, their lead person, I forget his name, but is like a keyboard extraordinaire. I mean, we're talking like rivals like Keith Emerson in terms of just overall talent and skill and all that kind of stuff.
Oh, Magic is a child. So, okay, thanks. Robert.
I like that
Fripp,
guy's title, Pocket Full of Heat.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's Wayne. He's on the Prod Corner.
Hey, Wayne,
stream
if you want to come on,
Mondays.
here's the link. Wayne's a good guy. I
And
like
from-
him more than Glen.
And from Alberta? Is he in Alberta?
I don't know.
Oh, another Canadian?
Another Canadian.
Soon to be American.
That's right.
Can we do the? I've been trying to learn the American National Anthem just in case this happens.
I wonder about it.
Oh, say, can you?
Oh, America.
Yeah.
We
I
stand
don't know America
on
the
guard
Beautiful.
with thee.
And could you have to pledge allegiance to the flag stuff all the time?
Oh, in grade school? Absolutely. I mean, look, we're a nationalist country. You all know that,
Oh,
right?
A nationalist.
I'm being PG here, Glenn. Yeah, I mean, it was a you started every single day, kindergarten through end of high school,
Yeah.
with
I would say you're a narcissistic country.
a pledge of allegiance. Yes.
Yeah, we had to stand up for God Save the Queen. And I was thinking, what do we have to do with the Queen of England?
Well, she was our boss.
I know.
time.
I'd love to see a Black Sabbath documentary, but not a biopic. Oh, he's from Alberta. Yeah.
All right.
the most famous Canadian from Alberta since Stephen Harper.
Who's the most Oh, he is. Whereabouts in Alberta are you from? Since I spent 7 years of my life living in Alberta.
Yeah, PFM. That's another band that
I
Glen
have
would
one of their
like.
albums that sits in my heavy rotation file. These guys are
PFM.
really good.
Is it Chocolate Kings, Glenn? Is that the one you have?
There's PFM Live from the 70s that I had. They are really good musicians. It's gone all quiet since Glen left.
I know we're
We
all
won't say
definitely
anything.
waiting.
We're
To
waiting
see
for
what PFM
Glen's the
record
one
has.
that's keeping us going. Here he is.
Photos of Ghosts.
Photos of Ghosts. Yeah.
Yeah, these guys are pretty good.
Now I think I could be. It gets a little bit hairy with PFM because their first several records were in Italian, and then they went English. And I think Photos of Ghost is the English version of one of their prior Italian.
Exactly.
I think. Okay.
Yeah, you got it.
I have no idea.
I don't know. I always share. I had tickets to see Frank several years. I mean, it was like right in the middle of COVID, and he had canceled about 2 weeks before the whole tour because of health issues, and was really bummed because Frank Marino to me is just one of the most underrated guitarists ever.
Mahogany Rush.
Yep.
Yeah, Mahogany Rush, Frank Marino.
So good.
Welcome back, Glen.
Thank you, Tom.
He's the only one that noticed that you were gone.
When got up to River Go. Well, when you get old and you stand up, it just comes out.
Yeah.
I'm going on tour in the summer, and Glen's going to be my opening act.
Yeah. That means I can't be funnier than you, though. So, because
That's right.
You can't upstage the star. Yeah. You want to hear the definition of cruel? So I'm thinking of going to Florida. I think we're going to leave on the 4th of March. So we'll be there on the 5th. So I went on Orlando area concerts coming up from the time I'm going to be in Orlando, Florida. And here's how the world. That's why I know there's no God.
He actually emailed me.
The 5th when I get there, you know who's there that I could go see? The Beatles.
The beat.
And then 2 days after I leave, you know who's there? Widespread Panic.
That's so funny.
That's the definition of cruelty.
Now, Glenn, I will say I'm excited for your trip to Grand Rapids, one of my favorite little cities.
Yeah, I am too. I actually found a hotel and everything now.
Oh, beautiful. Yeah. And,
I hear
Van
there's a
Andel,
great
I thought was
record
funny. That's
store
where I
there.
got my graduate degree, was Van Andel Arena. And it's right downtown.
I've had more than one person tell me Vertigo Records is one of the great record stores on the planet.
Amazing. Vertigo's great. And it's a couple blocks. It's not far.
Wow.
Is that the album you were showing there, Alex?
It was not. No, I just have the self-titled
Bankrupt
debut.
Mind Explosion. Larry, you're a legend. Thank you. Thank you so much. It would be great to see a movie bio for you.
It would be. The best part of that movie would be when the funniest part would be when Larry goes to the optometrist and buys ladies' glasses. That's going to be hilarious. He wears those glasses. He wears are from the Gloria Vanderbilt collection.
The Gloria Vanderbilt collection. That's one of my favorite. Yeah, that's such a good joke.
That's gonna be
on the biopic thing that I think.
There you go, Larry.
I
now
can't
you're
see as well though. It's blurry.
Yeah, but you look a lot cooler.
Yeah, doesn't he? Looks like a man now.
No, I think the biopic thing for me, like, and again, Dylan's was different, but I don't really call the Dylan thing a biopic, really. I think they would need to do, and similar to how they've done really great documentaries, right? Like with things like Elton John or things like Queen, like everybody knows everything about these people. I think a biopic that I would be very interested in is like, let's dive into an artist that we know nothing about, like that has a while. I mean, I've mentioned before, like, give us a Townes Van Zandt biopic. Like, I mean, that guy was going through like shock therapy and I mean, just ridiculous, wild stuff. Or Glenn, I think you mentioned with Jim Gordon.
Yeah, Jim Gordon.
Oh, we need the Jim Gordon biopic. I mean, like stuff like that.
It'd be a horror movie.
Oh, that would be cool, wouldn't it?
I've never met Bobby Gass, and that one time Bobby and I talked about meeting up. He's a pretty cool guy. We went to a lot of the same concerts when we were both younger, but Bobby went to a few more than me. But
Led Zeppelin biopic. No, I wouldn't want to see that.
Well, the Led Zeppelin, Becoming Led Zeppelin is coming out soon. That documentary that they did. It's going to be on what do they call IMAX.
And there's a Tom Green document. Seriously, there's a Tom Green documentary coming out on Prime. That looks interesting.
Well, Tom only has one nut now, right, Tom? Didn't he have testicle cancer?
Yep. Glen, they are making a Bee Gees movie. Steve Earle.
Oh, Steve Earle. Well, yeah, Steve Earle would make a good movie.
The Glenn Calloway story. I can see it in lights already.
Yeah.
I'll tell Steve Earle's son would make a good movie too, right?
There's some things that I've had some episodes in my life that I've wanted to write a book about.
That I like that when you were a teenager, that acid story about driving through
is just like that's a movie to be made. I've often wanted to tell that story on a YouTube video, but I just don't know if I could do it justice. It's a crazy night. Yeah, Bobby's a good guy. We haven't communicated in a long time, but he's quite a guy.
Who's Bobby?
Bobby Gass from Toronto. He does videos. He's been a video YouTuber almost as long as you have, I think.
Yeah, and that other guy that you said you knew pretty well back in the day, he's going out on tour again. He had a Canadian band in the 70s. You said you were friends with him or something. I forget his name at the moment. He had a band in the 70s, and you said you knew him. You're pretty chummy with him. I forget his name. But I just thought
Gatto's touring all over the place.
Yeah, him.
Yeah, Greg. He was playing in Belleville a couple of days.
Oh no, it's Wayne.
Hey guys.
Hey Wayne.
Hey Wayne.
Hey, we've never met before. How are you?
Good. Out
Wayne?
Here in the cold land of Alberta.
Wayne, don't talk about the Beach Boys, and
can I ask
get along
you,
great with Glen.
Where you live in Alberta?
Camrose.
I spent 7 years in Alberta, so
okay.
I lived in Tabor, I
Oh,
lived
south.
in. I spent some time in Red Deer,
Okay.
Peace River, and Grand Prairie.
Okay, yeah. My mom's whole family is pretty much from up the Grand Prairie, Athabasca
Oh yeah, cool.
region. Yeah, I heard you guys talking about biopics.
Yep.
One I thought would be actually a really interesting one would be Vincent Crane of Atomic Rooster.
Ooh.
Yeah. Yeah.
And Arthur Brown, right? He was
Yeah.
on. It was Vince Crane
Yeah.
on the Crazy World of Arthur Brown first
Yeah,
record,
yeah.
and then left to do Atomic Rooster.
And when you look back on those early Atomic Rooster albums, and he that Vincent Crane would write a lot of the songs, they would be pretty dark, right? Like you
Yeah.
almost could sense what was going to be coming on later on in his life, because he sadly committed suicide. But I love early Atomic Rooster.
Yeah, really good. Death Walks Behind You and The Hearing of,
Yeah.
Made in England. Some really good music.
Well,
Where are you
Glen would play David Lee Roth in the Van Halen biofilm
You know that.
in the later years.
I
The
think
Las Vegas years.
my bulk would probably be better for Wolfgang.
That's also fair. Yeah.
That David Lee Roth, when you see clips of him doing his Las Vegas show, it's just so bad.
He had an ego the size of freaking.
Yeah,
He still does.
still does.
I remember when they pulled that big reunion back together, and they were on they were on like Jimmy Kimmel or something, and he took the mic stand to the head and was
I saw
bleeding
that.
all over. And I'm sitting there thinking, I was like, this is the most Spinal Tap thing to happen to the most Spinal Tapping. Like this is, you can't write this. This is so perfect.
Yes.
Yeah.
I don't know if you remember this, Alex, because you're Ontario or Ohio guy, but back in the 90s, I went to see Howard Stern do a funeral for the Cleveland disc jockey.
Yeah.
Become number one market. My brother and I drove down from Toronto to see that.
Oh wow.
They had
Yeah.
a big concert and the thing down in the flats.
Yep.
And one of the David Lee Roth was the starring musical act.
Wow.
And we were there. We went down the night before at like midnight to see what was going on. And David Lee Roth was doing his sound check. And they were doing like Jump and
Of
Panama
course.
and all the classic.
Yeah.
I'll tell you, that band rocked. They were really good. I was going, holy shit, I'm not a Van Halen fan, but this sounds really good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, that was always the thing with David Lee Roth. Always had a good band. When he went, he always had a great band. I mean, Billy Sheehan and Steve Vai. I mean, like the records were okay, but the band that he had, you're like, they got to be doing more. That's when Glenn, when I do the Zappa tag, which I will do, my pick was going to be for the question that Richard had about like an artist that came from a Zappa band that did other stuff. I was going to pick Steve Vai and then show the David Lee Roth records because that's what I have, but never quite. That band was not greater than the sum of its parts. Let's put it that way.
Yeah.
I love Frank Zappa. Yep.
Zappa's amazing. Once you get into it and you understand it, it's like it could become a whole obsession.
Oh, yeah, it is.
Yeah.
That's a good one, Bob. The Poppers, great Canadian band from the 60s. We played at Monterey.
Okay.
But what is that? What's that really bad Zappa album?
Thingfish?
Thingfish?
Have you heard Thingfish, Wayne?
I have. I don't think Thingfish is as bad as Francesco Zappa.
I haven't heard that one.
I actually think Thingfish, looking at it now, going through the whole pandemic thing, makes more sense now. Like with the way Frank kind of planned it out there. So
I've never heard Thingfish.
You don't want to.
This is piss.
I was
This
so
is theater
excited.
piss,
I
honey.
was buying the Frank Zappa albums in the 80s. Every few months he'd release and it'd always be great. And when I got Thingfish, it's 3 albums. Oh my God, 3 albums of Zappa. And it was horrible. Michael, welcome.
Hey,
Hey,
How am
Michael.
I sounding?
Michael.
Am I doing
We-
okay?
Great. And we're here to
Good.
talk about David Lee Roth.
Oh, actually, you know what, Larry? I just did my first stream last night, and that came up from some of the viewers that were posing questions. And what I said at the time is David Lee Roth is my favorite Van Halen singer. However, Sammy Hagar is a better singer. Uh, it was his almost sophomoric humor, delivery of vocals that fit so well with that brand new style of Eddie Van Halen's guitar that's the stuff that turns me on. I even said I'm brand new to vinyl, and I haven't quite. I'm brand new to vinyl. I used to have a large vinyl collection, but I went to CD and did the foolhardy thing that everybody else did, and you know, tossed all my vinyl away. And Royce from Royce in the House started sending me vinyl, and I go, "What am I going to do with this?" And so I invested into a nice, modest turntable. You know, it's the Audio Technica. What is that? The Audio Technica, whatever. It's kind of the nice medium level turntable. And I started, so I on Royce's show, I always go, "Damn you to hell, Royce," and he goes, "That was my
There's
intentions
no
all
going back now,
along."
man. There's no
Right.
going back now.
Yeah, but I did say last night that the ones that I have no Eddie Van Halen or Van Halen albums right now, but the ones that are my target ones that I'm looking for to get are the early ones first.
Yeah.
Now, that doesn't mean what Sammy did with Van Hagar, yeah, Van Halen was bad, or they did some awesome music. I just slightly prefer early Van Halen to the latter version. The latter version was like, it was almost, look, we're a grown-up band now.
Yeah.
And they did some amazing things. And Sammy Hagar is one of my favorite singers in rock, bar none. I saw them on while they were promoting their very first album in San Francisco. I went home and bought it. They were just unpacking the damn thing at the record store, and I bought Montrose. So I've been a fan of him ever since, his solo stuff as well. I'm a little disappointed in him right now because he was touring with Jason Bonham to do the Van Halen kind of tribute tour. Jason Bonham, his mother took ill. He had to go back to England. Then, when he was set to come back, he had found out he had been permanently replaced by Sammy, and I thought that was kind of disgusting. I even said it last night. I think it's a black eye for him in his career. I've always seen him as a hero. He has an ego and everything. Van Halen was my band, and it probably was on its day-to-day machinations. But I don't know. What do you guys think? Or am I behind the conversation here?
I think with Van Halen, my favorite part of Van Halen is that early stuff because they have a lot of acoustic in there as well. Like they were willing to go in different directions and just be the flashy, all over the place guitars. Like there was some great melodies in there. But
Right.
As far as Sammy, yeah, I think that to anybody, just say, yeah, my mom took ill. I went home and then went to come back, find out I'm fired. That's not great PR.
Yeah. And, I mean, it was supposed to be like a kind of superstar lineup. And so they're saying on one hand, yeah, Jason Bonham, who has his own set of fans just being Jason Bonham, and a lot of Zeppelin fans are interested in him because of his work with the real Led Zeppelin at the O2.
Yeah.
And then to be, just kind of replaced. I mean, he was a headliner. How can you not take offense to that? You know?
Yeah, I don't know the. Oh, you're
Larry,
on mute, Larry.
you're
You're
muted.
muted, Larry.
Okay, yeah. I was going to say, is it me or is it
Can't hear you.
still muted?
No, it looks like
I
you're.
knew. I just knew we'd find a way to
Yeah,
shut up,
finally.
Larry.
We finally found a way to shut him up. Oh, this is nice. Now.
Right now, he's cussing his brains out at us.
Yeah. Oh, and you disconnected Michael. Oh, Larry's just losing it. I'm funny with Van Halen because I never really got into them because I get the feeling maybe it's an age thing with me. Like they were just the next stage of rock stars, and I just was into my Zeppelins and all that, and just never really had room for Van Halen. But I always liked the Sammy Hagar Van Halen more than the David Lee Roth Van Halen. Like I just like his voice a lot more.
Still muted, Larry.
Still muted, Larry.
Larry, is your StreamYard muted? Like, do you have it clicked on mute on your StreamYard?
Yeah, your mic's muted, Larry.
There you go.
High fans of high quality entertainment.
That was high quality.
What happened to Michael?
I don't know. I think it's something you said, Glenn. He was just pissed and he left.
What about Sam? He's in the background. He could come up and join us, or Scott. How many people can you have up?
I think 6. Scott can come up.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I don't know to comment on, and wish Michael was here to have the conversation. I don't know.
But the thing about Scott is he's quiet.
I know. He's
very
too shy.
He doesn't really say anything. He's shy.
No.
Yeah.
Whenever I want to go to sleep at night and I can't sleep, I always put one of Scott's videos on.
Oh, Michael's back. Oh, he's upside down. You were upside down there, Michael. Well, Michael, I have one question to ask you.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think of Ringo's new country album?
Well, I said it in the I said in the comments, it doesn't suck, and that's about as positive as I can say it. I think it's bland as hell. I mean, it's got a polish and everything, but it's like so freaking ho hum. That the one cut. What was the name of that song that he did with? The gal who's touring with Robert Plant, Alison Krauss. Yeah, I mean, you can barely hear her vocals. Why? And they could have had anybody, any backup female singer, come in there and do just as bang up a job. I didn't, with Alison Krauss, she has a delivery. I'm a fan of Alison Krauss, and that song didn't help me being a fan of Ringo or Allison. It's not like this horrible, horrible song. He doesn't have to be embarrassed, I guess, of the album. But, was it you, Glenn, that was saying he basically made one good album? That was it. That's kind of my opinion about Ringo. Now, when he was with the Beatles, and his early hits, I loved it. Don't Come Easy, one of George Harrison's best songs, by the way. Oh, and Photograph, one of George Harrison's best. So when he leans on the Beatles, he's capable of great work. There's no doubt about that. And with the Beatles, I can't imagine another drummer. He's small of stature. I think his physical being affected his drum style. He has to work twice as hard to get to those skins as a guy that was 5'11". He was playing a right-handed drum set because that's how he saw they were set up, even though him, like McCartney, is left-handed as well. So all of that affects into his style, which made him the perfect drummer for the Beatles. Now, is he one of the greatest drummers on planet Earth? No, but he has a style, and that style affected the Beatles. Therefore, yes, he's one of the greatest drummers on planet Earth for
Very well
that
said.
alone.
Yep.
Well
Right.
said, Michael.
Yeah.
Well said.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah.
Well, I rely on the kindness of strangers, you know.
Took the
Oh,
words
but
right
except
out.
you're not a stranger.
Are
Okay,
you
I get
reading?
it.
Are you reading all this from a script, Michael?
Yes, it's just off camera, right over there. I'm sure of it.
Yeah.
Alex,
Alison
you
Krauss
have
is one of the great singers on the planet, and
Yeah.
I'm kind of wondering, T-Bone Burnett, who has produced some pretty good frickin' albums, and they always have like a lot of room in them, and they're like you think back to the Johnny Cash albums he did, and a ton of
Yeah.
albums. How did he produce this album? Do you think Ringo was telling T-Bone Burnett what to do?
I don't know.
I don't
You
hear
know,
T-Bone Burnett's production in this record.
you know what, Glenn? I don't hear anybody's production in the record. It's bland. It's like, it's like, to me, it sounds like it was produced by some, polished and very capable producer that are available by the thousands in the music industry. And I don't know what the big hoo-ha-ha is, except that, you know, um, they when they found out Ringo wrote to more than the other Beatles, even over McCartney, they asked him, why is that so? And he uh, they said, why do you think you get more fan mail than the rest of the Beatles? And he says, I think it's because probably more people write to me. You know, that's that's Ringo, But to me, when I listen to this album, I think it's those kind of people, those kind of fans who are just so proud of the little guy to actually come up with something that isn't like you have to apologize for, or that the vast majority of music fans would find lacking. I mean, it is a polished record. The tracks, you listen to it from track to track to track, they all fit. There's no sonic whoop and, taking you on a ride. But you could pick up a producer that would have accomplished that same thing for about a tenth of the money, don't you think? Or
Yeah.
yeah.
Alex, have you heard the album?
No,
No.
I've not.
Nope.
But truthfully, probably very little interest in hearing it. I mean, I haven't listened to any. I have a very unpopular opinion when it comes to Beatles solo material. I think what Michael said about Ringo and how he needed the Beatles to have like better albums. Like, I was sitting there thinking to myself, I was like, dang, I feel like I could say that about 95% of like solo releases from the Beatles catalog. Like, the only one I love is All Things Must Pass. Like, I view that and listen to that in as high of regard as any Beatles record. I like things like Ram a lot. I like things like Band on the Run a lot. But by and large, the Beatles solo catalog to me is a really, really, really good reminder that they all needed each other.
Alex, I'm on this. It says here, kick from studio.
I know.
Or ban from studio.
I know. I've granted, right? Like,
no, you know what? You bring up a good point. Ultimately, I think you're absolutely correct. They were stronger together than they were apart.
Yeah.
Having said that, though, three of them put out brilliant work. Ringo putting out almost a brilliant album. Even the Ringo album, to me, isn't quite, you can't compare it to All Things Must Pass. I think Ram is McCartney's very best album he's ever done, with or without Wings. I love, of course, Band on the Run, but then again, I think the McCartney album is genius,
Yep.
and people don't get it. They're finally it was back in the 90s, wouldn't you say, Glenn or Larry? You guys were around quite a bit in those days. We're pretty close in age. Where they started, that's the first lo-fi album in rock. They started redefining what it was, which is exactly what it was to begin with.
It's the same with Ram when it came out. A lot of people dissed it, and now it's like
well, you can thank Jan Winter for that. Rolling Stone was all set to give that a positive review. Yes, thank you. A senior moment there, folks. It happens. But Jan Winter, he was besties with John Lennon. John Lennon, to me, wasn't at his best at that time. I mean, he was going through Primal Scream. There was the heroin issue with Yoko being he was all mixed up. And matter of fact, my favorite John Lennon album is the Plastic Ono Band, and it's all there, bare bones. I love that, right? But they were going to do this, and Jan Winter was always in there. He even was there with John Lennon at the opening of Let It Be, and they're all tittering and tattering. He's a horrible man. Jan Winter, former editor of Rolling Stone and former chairman of the board, and misogynist and racist Jan Winter, right? So he's in between. He put a kibosh on McCartney's album, getting a good review, instead giving it a horrible review, because he was in Lennon's camp. See, at this time, this was war, folks. Now, later on, John would go, well, it wasn't quite that. Yes, it was at the time. You can see George coming in to put that seething slide guitar on How Do You Sleep, and George, grinning. Any true Beatle fan that looks back on those old footages, and you can find that footage anywhere on YouTube, right? There was war going on. And McCartney's Ram album, as well as all three Beatles pooing and pawing his McCartney album, which both of them sold well, right? And everything. And then, of course, you got Band on the Run. But you know what? Neck and neck with Band on the Run, you gotta give Venus and Mars its due. And then there are the lesser but almost great albums by McCartney. Well, you'd have to put Tug of War up at the top. And I believe everybody's going to crucify me, but I think Memory Almost Full is one of his very best albums ever done. Yep. So those are the cream of the crop for me. Lennon, you've got, of course, Imagine. You've got the Plastic Ono Band album. Mind Games, I think, is wonderful. What was the other one that was released?
Walls and Bridges is pretty good.
Walls and Bridges is wonderful. And if they would just scratch Yoko's freaking songs off with Milk and Honey and Double Fantasy and combine that into a single album, that would be John Lennon's masterpiece right there. At the end of his life, he was writing as good, as well, as geniusly as he had ever done.
Well, I love your take.
You know what, Glenn? I was 15 when Let It Be came out. I lived in the theater to watch, and that's how big of a Beatles fan I was. And I lived and breathed that Rolling Stone piece of garbage interview of John Lennon. I wore my hair like John Lennon. I had wireframe glasses like John. I was a major John Lennon fan, and I bought into that. But by the time I was 20 years old, I was poring over every article from every rag on the planet. I was quite well aware of what was going on, and it was war at that time. Mm-hmm. John just said, well, all my songs really turned out to be me. Well, he was probably right, because I think that's true. I'm a songwriter, and every, song I've ever written that has any kind of comment on a personality or someone, it's always about me anyway. I don't think we can get around that kind of perspective. Don't we all kind of sometimes feel like, reality is our dream, and we're the main characters because we can't help but feel that way because we're trapped in our own skull, looking out through these peepers, smelling, hearing what we tasting, touching, but we're isolated. And I think John Lennon always got that.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
what
one
my thing is,
one diatribe too long.
it's funny when truthfully, the one thing I'm less interested in hearing in 2025 than a Ringo album is a Ringo country album. So for me, it's both those things. But I also own, I am not, Glenn and I are similar in that we are just not really big Beatles fans. And so it's I just and also, I mean, look, the reality too is that I mean, first of all, I think it's great that he's still making music. I love that, and that a lot of these artists are at their age, and so I'm not gonna compare it to what other people might be doing when they're 25 or whatever, but there's just so much new and exciting music out there, especially from artists who might be independent or are not selling out stadiums or are not making money off of Spotify or Apple Music or any of those different things, that it's like I don't know, I feel like my listening time is going to be more dedicated to those types of artists than something like the new Ringo album, or even if Paul had or if there's a new Paul record or any of those different things.
There is one coming out. He's spending 2025 finishing it up.
Yeah.
So I just his last couple of offerings, there's 1 or 2, 3, 4 songs that per offering that Egypt Station. To me, it's almost like that. What was it? Flowers in the Dirt. 3/4 a great album, and 1/4, and that was kind of like Egypt Station. Only I'd pick Flowers in the Dirt over Egypt Station even. So, but there's brilliant work on it. But it's like McCartney. He has to contend with his voice. I think. I think he needs to write the way he can sing, and that would be interesting. If he came. But I'm all with you also, following other bands. I've been following Dorothy, Dirty Honey, Rival Sons. These are some of the, of course, Greta Van Fleet. The second they came out, everybody crucified them. I loved them. And the more they get away from their Zeppelin approach is interesting, but I would like to see them get back to the groove. There's no, you didn't see Badfinger apologizing for sounding like the Beatles. You didn't see ELO apologizing for sounding like the Beatles. And a half a dozen or a dozen more bands that were sounding exactly like the Beatles during those days. And yet one band comes out that sounds a lot like Zeppelin and they get crucified. It is bullshit to me.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Excuse my language.
Great band.
Yeah.
The thing about, I just want to make one more comment about the Ringo album, was the fact that he brought in 3 of the greatest players in acoustic string music, roots music today. Billy Strings might be the greatest guitar player on the planet right now. Alison Krauss, who's amazing, a fiddle player, beautiful singer, has an amazing band. And Molly Tuttle is another one. Like, she's a superstar guitarist. I mean, she's just a fantastic musician. He brings these 3 people in and he doesn't let them play.
I know.
Oh, Ringo. Like, why would you even bring them in?
Right. I agree, Glenn. I agree.
Yeah.
It just sounds bland. That's the thing.
Yeah.
But I don't understand why, it just seems like there has been so many videos out covering this, like from content creators that are really, and I don't cut them down. I mean, everybody has their opinion.
I mean,
and
that's how people. That's because they know it's going to get. Because Michael and Alex and Wayne and Glenn and Larry are going to watch it.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and I was surprised by a couple of content creators liking the album a whole lot more than I thought they would. And these are two I'm thinking of right now who I have a lot of respect for in their viewpoints, but I just don't agree with them on this one. So either I'm missing something, a point of brilliance with it, or they're missing something. Obviously, maybe being too forgiving.
No,
Well, I think
it's going to
that's
be my
90%
album
of
of the
it.
year, Michael. It's the album of the year for me.
Boy, I'm so
Afraid of the
glad that
afraid of the backlash from the Beatles fans
Yeah,
out there. That's
Yeah.
probably more like, what do you mean you're not a true Beatles fan? You
Yeah.
don't like it?
Yeah.
Like,
yeah. Well, there are, there's Beatle fans and then there's Beatle fanatics. You go, hey, wait a minute, fans is based on fanatics. But, really seriously, when you have to extend the word, then think about that. You also get a type of fan that extends their fanaticism. They can do no wrong. These are people who, will do anything to make a Beatle. What are those things called where everybody joins in and goes and celebrates the Beatles convention?
Yeah.
I'm a major Beatle fan. I've never been to a Beatles convention in my entire life. Now, if there was one down the street and I had nothing to do, it's not like I wouldn't go to those things, But there's a type of fan that goes to meet. Oh yeah, he was the fourth engineer, just underneath the third engineer, who was underneath the second engineer, who was underneath Alan Parsons, who was the second engineer, but is now the main engineer because he got that guy. I got his autograph. Oh boy, I don't know.
But the conventions when they first started back in the 80s and 90s were actually pretty good because I went
I heard they were.
I met Alan Williams, George's sister. I can't think. A couple of the Quarrymen. I can't remember the names of the Quarrymen guys now. A couple of guys who were really like close.
Yeah.
7 Degrees of the Beatles or whatever. It was a lot better nowadays. Like you said, now it's like. I was down picking up some of the equipment in the East Bay, south of Oakland, California, and something was going on with a wings setup, and it was like right across the street, and I went into that, and Lawrence Joubert was there. That was cool, but it's not like, see, I was also 2 hours away from home if I drove real fast, at the right time of the day. So I would never, if I had heard that he was going to be there, gone and driven 2 hours to do that, But it was cool. So I do understand that. It's just, I guess I'm lazy, Glenn. I'm a lazy Beatle fan. That's what it is. Shame on me, But it was cool. I literally walked across the street and saw the dude and said, thank you. It was real cool. And the only reason I knew about it is I was down there picking up equipment with my youngest son. And he goes, hey, Dad, blah, blah, blah. I go, I didn't even know about it, And I had a good time. It was fun. So, but I think that's the only, I love comic books. I always have. Learned to draw because I wanted to be a comic book artist, right? And but I've never gone to a comic convention. I love Marvel movies, or at least back when they could make a good one.
Mhm.
But I would never go to a Marvel convention, or I'm lazy, Hell, that's 3 hour drive. No way, man. You know?
Went to one once, when at like 8 o'clock in the morning when nobody was there, walked around, did it until people showed up, and then I left.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
I also don't, I'm back into vinyl. You know, I don't go to record store day. You know, I went in like a week or two later after record store day, and I actually I did get a record store day. This is, let me see if I can get the
Oh, that's
glare off of it.
fantastic.
Yeah, and I love this. This is great. I'm a major Yes fan. So, but the only reason I got a record store day album was because they hadn't sold it. It was the one left, and it was for an okay price, and I picked it up. You
I
know,
go to the record store day the day after. See
right?
if I can find what I was looking for the next day when all the bullshit's over. Then I'm
Yeah.
lucky. If I don't get it, I don't get it.
My family has to practically drag me to the county fair. I love it once I'm there, but it's like, ah.
And Michael, have you heard the new John Anderson album? True.
Yeah, I love it.
It's
I
amazing.
love
isn't
it.
really good.
I brought that out on my stream last night too, Larry. That in 2023, we got Hackney Diamonds, we got Rock Float by Jethro Tull, 72 Seasons by Metallica. We got a triple album, sort of, by Smashing Pumpkins. We got Midnight Rose by Paul Rogers. Who else? Mirror to the Sky by Yes. I mean, we got so many great classic rock albums. Last year, we got one from Tears from Fears that at least made it to my attention. I'm only talking about dumb old Michael kind of picking up on stuff.
Tipping Point was a great record.
Yeah, and yes, and I said that on the stream that I just haven't heard it enough to assess it, but I'm going to do a video on it. I bought Tears for Fears with just rolling. You know, I'm a major fan. I love them, love them, love them. But then I also brought up that Deep Purple, their Equals One album is like as good as any of their mid to better mid albums. You know, you don't have the long solo duels that you got with Richie Blackmore and the crossover blend between him and John Lord. It's more your turn, my turn, which is, I wish they'd do more blending of instrumentation like, classic Deep Purple. But other than that, it's a fantastic album. And John Anderson's true. I'm going to do a thing on it. Is my pick for the album of the year
And
from a
the
classic
album
rock
cover
artist.
of the year.
Oh yes, definitely, Larry. Shame on you for even suggesting that. God, what was he thinking?
It was his daughter who did the artwork.
Yeah.
Oh, it's like, I don't know. It was like he's Perry Como's latest.
Another good one, Michael. I'm not sure if you're into Steve Hackett from Genesis, but his Circus and the Night Whale.
Thank you. I'll check it out. Steve Hackett.
Too.
Yeah.
Cool.
And Steve Hackett has a new album coming out, a live acoustic album from the boarding house or something. Or I forget.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
okay, I got to check this guy out. Like I said, I'm only coming from my little corner. A lot of people. You mentioned Scott Lade earlier. God, he's doing such a fantastic job, isn't he, Larry?
He just needs to pick up the energy a bit.
Yeah, well, there's hope springs eternal for the shy bastard. But Scott and I are almost antithetical of each other. He's mainly into prog, but he also has a wider palette and loves, rock in general. I love rock in general, and I'm kind of into prog, some prog bands and things like that. So I'm more of a see. I'm originally a Beatles fan, and I sprung from that. Led Zeppelin was the one branch that was like, oh, this is different, and so that widened my palette quite a bit. But I have never lost my love for great pop rock done well. I miss it.
Yeah.
Well, I think I'm going to end this live stream in a few minutes, but before I do, Glenn, tell us about your channel.
Glen Kellaway from the basement. I just basically talk about whatever's turning me on these days. I've got a wide range of likes when it comes to music. I love classic rock and love jazz, bluegrass, prog rock, anything. I just like it's. I really have no barriers on. Yeah, I just did a tribute to Janis Joplin today on my channel. So happy birthday to Janis today.
Yes.
And Alex?
Yeah, beer and vinyl. Not a lot of beer these days because it's dry January, but still doing the vinyl thing. Yeah, I mean, it's a lot, similar type of stuff. A lot of prog, a lot of rock, some metal here and there, jazz, a lot of jazz fusion, all that good stuff. And there is a prog tag that is live right now that Larry will be doing soon. Of course. So always a pleasure, Larry.
Thank you. Michael, tell us about your channel.
Oh, I couldn't. I'm so shy. Oh, stop it. Stop it. Michael Nolan, the bottom line. I do what you would consider regular prepared videos, on a particular subject. I run a lot of polls on my channel. I do a lot of shorts. I share my videos from Royce in the House that I try to be on every week. That's why I haven't been able to get up here very often when Larry does his streams, because I'm usually scribbling my notes to get on later on at 6:30. And now I even stream on my channel, Larry.
Whoa.
I'm a streamer. You know what? I'll tell you the one thing I noticed about that last night when I did my first stream, man, and I said it right out loud, is to do what you are doing right now is a lot tougher than doing what the other four of us are doing right now. I mean, you are batting players in and out. You're monitoring the chat. You're trying to kind of gather into the conversation.
You're basically saying I'm a professional.
You know what? You're a genius, my man.
I'm a genius professional.
You
and
are,
all that
definitely.
while he's wearing ladies' glasses. It's incredible.
Anyway, come on over and join my channel. I love it.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you, Michael. Wayne, I'm sorry, but we've run out of time.
Oh, like always.
Tell us about your channel. The heap thing.
A puck full of heap. I'm started doing a podcast with regulars from the Prog Corner, talking about albums, not necessarily prog, more going off into other direction than just pretty much doing that. Every Sunday, virtually, you can catch me over on the Prog Corner with Scott. We do a Sunday prog stream together. And other than that, not really much going on. Just kind of.
Tell Scott, are you doing this later today with Scott?
I did it earlier this morning.
Oh, you did it. Okay. Well, next time you talk with Scott, tell him Michael Nolan says hi, that I'm very impressed with what he's done. I know he works hard, a full-time job, and he has had amazing results on his channel for a guy that can't do it like he really would like to have the freedom to do it. Tell him I said, color me impressed.
Yeah, I'll definitely let him know.
Yeah.
Well,
thanks, Larry, for having me on.
Thanks, Larry, for doing this. This was awesome, guys. Thanks so much.
Yeah, Larry, thanks for having me up. It took me a while to be able to get up. I apologize for that.
And come on anytime. Yeah.
Oh, I appreciate that always. And if I can, I would. It's all a matter of splitting my energy sometimes, but I've always enjoyed the few times I've been up here, talking and having a discussion. That's my meat and potatoes. I'd rather have just a discussion about the music, keep politics, keep drama and trauma away from it all. I love that,
Yeah. And look at that. Great balancing act. Love Michael's channel.
Thank you, sir or ma'am, whoever thou shalt
You're
It's
a
be.
great
guys,
band.
Michael, you got to check this album
Yeah,
out.
great balancing act. They're a great band.
balancing act
Okay.
from Moncton, New Brunswick.
Now is this a new band or a new artist?
They've been around for a while.
Okay.
You're good.
Yeah. I'll check it out, Glenn. Thank you. Always looking for new music.
Okay, so thanks everybody.
Thank you, everyone.
Alex,
Have a
wake
good
up
night.
and say goodbye.
Thank you.
Goodbye, everybody.
Bye, everybody.
MICKEYNOUS.